Hello, everyone. It's Friday.
Yeah.
And you know what? The sun is shining today and it's a little, and you know what? I should probably cross my fingers or whatever, but I hope that, most of the winter is over. We're in February and the weather has just been so wonderful here.
Mhm.
We are so excited today because in honor of Super Bowl being on Sunday, and you know, no matter if you're a sports person or not, everybody watches the Super Bowl, right? We wanted to bring in an excellent subject because we all have kids, had kids, we have grandkids now, and we wanted to talk about the benefits of kids in sports. Until you start looking at all these different things and doing research and stuff like that, you never realize how much the benefits are. So, with that, Deb, how are you today?
I am doing great, and I just want to tell you, when it comes to the Super Bowl, I'm in for the snacks and the halftime, the halftime show. But I love sports. You know, I love sports. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And I actually, you guys, Lori came up with this idea, and she said, "I had this idea. What do you think?" And I literally jumped on it, and I was like, "Yes," because I have always been an advocate for sports. Always have been an advocate for kids being involved in anything they can that they have a passion to do. And sometimes when they're little, you don't know what it's going to be. You might try a few things and it might not be their jam. You know what I mean? They might just not like it or whatever. And we're actually experiencing that right now. Mariano gave up karate. I don't think I told you this, Lori. He said he doesn't want to do it anymore. It's not in my puzzle, he told me. And he said, I'm going to talk to my mom and I'm going to do flag football at Downers Grove North, as a matter of fact. He's
Oh,
going
wow.
to be playing. And she signed him up for it. And yeah, so you know what? He wants to try some other stuff. And that's okay. You know what I mean? That is totally okay. That's actually good. So, but with that, Lori, that everyone, I just want to say that Lori, of course, and I just want to compliment you on all the times, every time we do something, how every single time her advertising boards of what we're doing, that is so cool. I mean, it's like every time I look at it, it's got so much cool interaction and stuff. And so it's so much fun to see what she comes up with. But Laura, do you want to start us off? Because you put together a list that I think was awesome. We both there was a YouTube we listened to, and there's a lot of stuff out there, you guys. So let's dig into it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what do you want to say? Let's dig
Well,
in.
I just want to say, it's just amazing. There's a lot of YouTubes out there. There's TED Talks. There's all kinds of stuff. What the great thing about it, another reason why I thought about this was, Debbie was a coach, her and her husband, and they were for volleyball coaches for years. And I know that all their kids played sports, and their daughter, not only is she a teacher, but she's also a volleyball coach and that and stuff. And my son does stuff too. We'll get in that a little bit later, but there's so many things that are so important about with kids being in sports. One of it is that they're in a team, they're on a team, and they learn how to be within a group of people and become friends with other people that they normally wouldn't become friends with. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an example of this. It's a little different, but it's an example, I think a good example. I went to Catholic grade school. So I went to high school and I didn't know anybody because I went to a public high school. And I joined the drill team. Okay. It's kind of a sport, and
Yeah.
50 new girls that I met that year, and 50 new people became my friends. So again, you become part of a team, and I met 50 new friends, and it was awesome. What a way, it was great. And then competition is good for growth. Okay. We all have that competitiveness in us. And so that's good for your growth because it makes you want to be better, makes you want to exceed more. Not that you want to be the best, but that you want to be better about yourself. Your self-esteem gets better. And Deb, we have anything else to add on to those?
I do, because I think you're right. Being on a team, I mean, meeting new friends, you might have some kids that are like, maybe, only children, and it's really great if they can get to learn how to work together, because it's so true, and meet new friends. But
Right.
the competition part, they got to learn how to win and strive, but they also have to learn that if they lose, they got to pick their heads up and move on. And if you have a good coach, God willing, you do, because that's always the big key too. But it also can come from the parents, the aunts, the uncles, the siblings too, to, enforce that. So yes. Going on to learning to set goals, it's so much part of learning to set a goal to come home and get that homework done. And, learning to set a goal because you want this item, you're a child and you want this new video game or something, while your parents might go set a goal. You got to work hard. You got to do your chores. You got to do whatever, Same thing in sports. You're not going to walk on the field or the court or the wherever, and you might want to be like one of the other players. So they have to learn the kids have to learn to set a goal to improve, practice makes perfect, right? So
Right. Yeah, no,
and you, Laura.
I agree with that. And the thing about it, I know that sounds really goofy, but they learn how to lose. That is a perfect thing to learn when you're young. Because when you grow up, if everything is always gone your way and it's, everything's perfect, and then you go out in the real world and you all know, this is not a perfect world, and things happen. And, and if you learn how to deal with things happen, not winning in a sport or not doing your best or having a bad day and picking up your head and moving forward, that is a good asset to learn for your future. Don't you, Deb?
Absolutely. It's kind of like, these are the principles in life that, we teach this young, they're going to do well. I mean, when you learn, like also the next one saying, learning to rely on each other. Okay. I'm really big into volleyball because I helped coach volleyball, but because Vanessa especially played since she was, 5 years old. She was always on the court with her sisters, helping and doing and whatever, and ended up playing all the way through college, and now coaches 12U, and she actually is the director of the club in that area. And, learning to rely on, each other, knowing that you can trust the person here or the person there or whatever on the court or on the field or whatever, is the same thing as bringing it into your workplace when you get older, trusting to know that your other coworker got their job done so that your job works, because maybe you're on a team that works towards a common goal to accomplish a task. It's the same thing in the household, relying on this person to take care of that and that person to take care of that, so the household runs well. It's the same thing, so I'm big about that, and also balance and coordination. Okay, funny subject. Balance and coordination in your body. Okay, that's a good thing, right? Some kids, as they grow, some kids are larger, smaller, bigger, taller, whatever, and uncoordinated, or they don't have good balance, or they don't have good, maybe they don't run as well as the next guy or whatever. But continually doing this, they're going to strive, right? They're going to get better, and so you can also flip it to balance and coordination in your life. If they learn to balance and coordinate their calendar with their activities, they're going to balance and coordinate their homework. Then when they get older, they're going to have remembered, it's a muscle memory thing, that, okay, if I balance and coordinate, I can get all my stuff done. So I have time to enjoy, it's great. I love this, so.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's great. That kind of goes into that learning time management. They learn they have to do their homework, this time for homework, this time for sports, this time for this. And, and it's kind of like the kid comes home from school, your kids come home from school, your grandkids, and they have a plan of what they have to do. Okay. Idle time is not necessarily good time, unless they're very creative kids. But otherwise, kids get in all kinds of problems and stuff. They don't know what to do. And you're teaching them to learn how to think for themselves, to plan what they got to do. When they're real little, we have to guide them. But as they get older, they plan their own stuff. I'll give you an example. I have 2 nephews that live in Arizona. And they're both into sports. And now football's over, and one's wrestling and one's weightlifting. And they're at the gym all the time working out, because they know they have to prepare themselves for the next sport that they're in, which is fantastic. and they got great grades and everything. I know when I was growing up, my brothers both played sports. My brother Mike, of course, he was a jack of everything. He was a bowler, he played baseball, he played everything, basketball, football. My brother Joe played football. My kids played, Tony played football, he did baseball. And then my daughter did some stuff, and my youngest son did football and wrestling. So I know that it was really good for them. It was hard as a parent. Don't get me wrong, parents. I know you're like, how do you juggle all this stuff? Well, you just do it. You really do. And then you look back years later and go, well, why did I do it? But I have no regrets sitting there watching it practice. And
Right.
I know, Debbie, you multitask when you're at a practice, right?
Totally. I want to just say one crazy thing. I don't know if you know this or if you've ever seen studies on it, because I watched a documentary one time, and it's a little bit flipping the subject slightly, but it really makes sense. Kids that do different subjects, like you talked about, like, Mike did this, Joe did this and all this stuff, and my girls went from one sport to the next. It is so good because the repetitive motions that these kids have in different body areas, like for instance, if they're a pitcher on a softball team, which my one daughter was, and that motion with that arm, but then she went to go play a different sport. So then she's using different muscles, and they're cross training, and they're still, each activity requires some kind of physical activity, like when they're practicing to actually create endurance, running, whatever. But it's a really good thing that if you don't want that kid 12 years out of the 12 months out of the year doing so much to one area of their body. They got to mix it up. And so hopefully their training that they do for that sport will also involve that. But it is a really good point, so I just wanted to bring that in there.
I actually watched a YouTube on that today, so that's fantastic. Brought that up because it's true. They said otherwise you put too much emphasis on a certain part of your body. That's not good. Do you know that they have now for younger kids, like my granddaughter Josie's, Tony got her into where she doing different kinds of sports introduction into different sports. So she did, she did soccer, she did baseball, they did all kinds of different things. And he was able to see what she liked the best out of all of it, and it's actually really good. I think they're getting smarter with that. But you know what? The next thing is a big thing, and it's called Stop Obesity. What happened during the COVID when these poor kids were home in front of their laptops and their computers and they couldn't go out and do anything, and all the sports were canceled? The country saw a big epidemic with obesity. And I don't know I haven't really did any research on it. Have you, Debbie, know anything if the kids have gone back to the way they were or what?
I have not done research, but I would speculate, honestly, that is an issue. I really would.
It is an issue, I think, but I don't know if they've corrected it. I don't know if they're having a harder time getting kids to go into sports because they're used to being lazy. I don't know. I mean, or the kids running to sports because they don't want to be sitting at home doing anything.
Yeah. Well, I would say one thing: what keeps in motion stays in motion, and also keeps healthy. And it's been totally like there's studies and research and everything about keeping physically fit. You'll live longer, you just have a better quality of life. And so having these kids with this moving is huge. And just to interject, I know we did, and I'm not saying, oh, look at us, but I'm just saying we got out in the yard and we were out. It was over the times, and we'd go for walks and we'd be outside and we'd do a bunch of stuff because you got to we were going stir crazy. We couldn't stand that. We were like going nuts, but you know what I'm saying? So people have to kind of they have to shift a little bit when there are the adversity and that kind of what we went through. But I mean, even if you haven't figured out that right sport to put your child in, okay, or your young child or your young adult or whatever, then being physically active is also part of our whole message too, because that will also help, But anyways, but that's it to you, Laura.
You know what? This is what I'm in it for. Team parties and get together.
Hey. Team
Parents,
mom, team parties, team
yeah,
grandma, team.
parties,
Yeah.
parties, yeah. All the team parties. Oh, I can't tell you how many ones was in charge of. And Debbie, I know you were involved in a lot too. It was a lot of fun. You met a lot of nice
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
well, it was great for the kids to have play dates with other friends that they knew from
Yep.
sports, stuff like that. It really is a whole package. It's just there's not one
Hmm.
thing about it, you know.
Hmm.
A lot of parents say, "Oh, you get hurt in sports and that." You know what? The benefits outweigh
Yeah.
the as far as getting hurt.
Right.
You know, right?
Absolutely.
And that and uniforms. Oh, I remember when the kids got their uniforms at the beginning of the season, how excited they were to go home and try on their uniforms. You know, and it's something about feeling a sense of belonging, you know.
Hmm.
You're on
Hmm.
the team, you know.
Hmm.
You know, you experienced that with your grandson Mariano with
Hmm.
playing baseball and stuff.
Baseball, yeah. He's like, yeah, he's so proud. It's always like, okay, what team am I in? What color am I? What, whatever, you know? And then I don't know about you, but I'm the one that's like, all right, their team is green or red or whatever. That's the color I'm wearing that day when I'm
You're
watching the
right,
game. And
exactly.
they're in the chair and I'm like, yes, you know, rooting them on and stuff, you know? Because like honestly, that's my thing. And you're right. You meet family, friends, you know, you meet people and everybody's there. And you know what? They're always looking. They're always looking to see if you're watching them, you know, because they want to know, you know, they're like, it's cute, you know,
Really
it's
cute.
cute. Yeah.
Uh,
And I'll go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
you go ahead.
I was just going to say better attendance in school. You know
Yeah.
what? Especially if the kids can be involved in sports in your specific area, 9 chances out of 10, somebody from their school is going to be also part of that sport, whether it's in the same class or whatever. And there's a sense of, you know, wanting to be around those kids too. You know, like they do better in school. They want to go to school. They want to see their friends. They know they're going to see them on the ball field or the track or the court or wherever, which helps them to strive better because they're organized and they're feeling good about stuff and they're more intuitive and they get better grades because they're feeling good about everything, you know. They're not being lazy. Okay, we talked about lazy in one way last week or so about how it's okay to be somewhat lazy, right? Because we got to relax. But children are too lazy these days with not pushing their minds, you know.
Right.
So it's an overall thing. And you know what, guys, it's habitual. If they learn these habits when they're younger, they're going to carry them all the way through, you know. Lori, tell me what you did, and this is going to be fun. And it doesn't have to be, you talked about, you know, I remember you were Athena and stuff, but what else did you do during high school? What were some of your other things that you did?
You mean in sports or just general?
Everything. Just go. I want to hear it. No, I want to hear it for a second. I got a point here. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, I was on a class board, which I ended up being class president for junior and senior year. I was in a group called VICA, which was Vocational Clubs of America. I was the vice vice president of that. I was in charge of the teen club at St. Mary's Church. This is all in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Think of what else did I do?
Well, you didn't miss any fun because we were always having fun too, doing all the other stuff.
Exactly.
And how do you feel you were an overall student? Honestly, what would you? How do you? I don't remember what your grade. What kind of grades
I
you
was
had.
a good student. I was a good,
Okay.
pretty good student. I wouldn't say it was, but you know, I did learn how to. Oh, plus we had the flower shop, and I was
And
taking
didn't
care of the flower shop, and I actually got that off the ground too because we just started it. Yeah, there was a
okay.
lot going on, but the more I did, the more I wanted to do.
Exactly.
Uh,
And the thing is that we got to work on making sure these kids aren't lazy and that they don't get into this, like, you know, kind of pattern. You know, I talk to a lot of people every day, you know, who have children, and some of them fall into that. And like, I'm going to encourage them to watch this and listen to what we're saying. Because when I went to high school, okay, I was a part of the VICA too, because Lori, I had you there and Chrissy for one of the, remember I did the competition thing for hair and stuff, which was fun. But I went to high school, beauty school, and I also worked. Okay. And I got good grades. And you know what? People will be like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. Well, you know what? Time management is what I learned, you know, and time management is how, if you listen to Lori and our backgrounds, we came from two different grade schools, filtered into the same high school. We both had similar interests. That's why we got to be friends. We were on the teen club at church together too, but we actually were busy. And because we were busy, we learned how to get it all done and all that. So the overall point there too is for the kids. Okay, yeah, we don't want the kids to be too busy at the younger age, but we want them to understand that you can do some things, and you just got to learn that, like, okay, maybe you have less game time on the computer now because you're out on the ball field or you're doing whatever, and it's a give and take. And then you eventually will have more time on your off day to do some of that stuff, So, but hey, let's talk about Lori, since we've been on the field as parents and grandparents and all that kind of stuff. Some of the stuff, because I think we need to touch on this really quick, because I think it's really important for people to hear about, what we need to teach our kids too about respecting the coaches. Okay.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, that's really.
And the parents too, because we both know we've got kids that do things, and we're going to touch on some of the stuff in 2 seconds about our kids. But Lord, I know teaching respect to the children about the coaches and to listen to the coaches, but then also for the parents to trust the coaches. What's your take on that?
Oh, no, I totally agree. I mean, I've been at some sports events with my kids when they were younger where the dads have gotten out of control. It's just such a bad example. They've got kicked out by the ref. But it is, and respect of your elders or respect of people of authority is a great thing. This is what we're lacking today in society, is respect for authority. Kids are not respecting teachers. People are not respecting the police, their parents, anything. And this is important. And it all starts with stuff like this, kids being in sports. I totally agree with that.
Yep. I agree too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point that you brought up, Debbie. A really good point too. And talking, we were going to get into this. So, you're going to talk about my son Tony, how he's the teacher. I called him this morning and was asking him some questions and stuff. And he told me that teachers say the best students they have are the ones that are in sports and in music. Because they have to learn how to have goals and juggle everything, and the whole respect thing too.
Right.
Right. Which brings me to a program that my son started, and I'm not going to get in a whole lot of detail about it, but he started it because he saw that the kids were having problems either being lazy or disrespectful or not getting their stuff done, or self-esteem was huge. They were getting depressed. There was no self-esteem. So what he does is on Thursdays, the kids meet before school and they have a half hour to an hour that they do exercising. And it's like calisthenics exercising. And there's no competition. So if you get done with your exercises and the person next to you is not, you go and help that person go do it. And then they spend a half hour reading a book about about self-esteem. And they even have a social worker there involved in it. And these are just fifth graders. He'll have anywhere from 45 to 75 kids come on a Thursday morning before school. And the parents are just raving about it. And they're trying to get this in the school districts and stuff. The word's getting out there, but it's true. It brings me to another point, Debbie, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of going all off.
Okay, that's okay.
I was watching a TED Talk from a physical ed teacher from Naperville North, okay, and which is not too far from us. And he was talking about that they found out that if the kids were more active before studying, that they could get the kids to their brains could absorb more than if they didn't. And they actually had a trial and error type of a thing. They actually took kids that were struggling in certain classes and they put them in a physical activity, their physical, the gym or whatever, before they started doing their studies. And then they had the kids that were doing well in the classes. And they found out that the kids that were struggling in the classes were getting just as good grades as the other kids were, or they were exceeding that. And then what they did is, I hope I'm not, you understand?
Okay.
They did what they call a brain break. So what they do would do in the middle of a class, instead of just letting the kids just sit there and take a break, they would take them on a walk for 10 minutes.
Wow.
Came back and found out that the kids were ready to work. And they actually had somebody that came in and some study at the University of Illinois, don't quote me on this stuff, that did brain scans on this.
Yeah.
And things that were not in physical activity that particular day, their brains were just a certain way, but the ones that were in physical activity, it was like it was all lit up. So the brain is able to absorb more when it's exercising than just sitting in the classroom. Isn't it amazing?
I got to watch that, because as everyone shall know, because they hear from me all the time, I'm into this brain technology. I'm into technology, that and I'm telling you, our bodies and our brains are so smart. But you know what? That serotonin, I think is how you say it, that gets released during exercise. It puts people in a better mood. It puts people more open. It opens up it's just what you just said, Lori, is powerful. It's so true. It's so true.
It was great. I'll have to post that on our page. I'll put that link.
You know what? That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. I think also that Matthew Kelly YouTube, we should post that too.
I'm gonna post that one too.
Yeah, because I think, I want to just bring something. I want to switch it up for 1 second, because Lori and I talked a little bit about this before. We're going to wind it up in a few minutes, but we just want to say something that we do understand and realize that sports are expensive. And trust me, I know. I've oh my goodness, if anybody knows what it's like to put any kid in any kind of club sport, on the off season of that sport, so that they get better, even in the high schools, they're charging, fees. They have to, I didn't even mention this. I'm gonna say this real quick. Our local high school almost tried to alleviate some of the sports. My husband and I went to that board meeting, and boy, did we state our opinion. And it's not because of just me and him. It was because of some other parents. And then the high school ended up having to up the fees some. And we were all like, it's okay. We want to pay the money to keep our kids in sports. But I certainly understand that everybody's budget, especially with this day and age, and the cost of everything is really hard. And I want you guys to realize that being your own advocate, okay, and really looking out there are places that will help you. Sometimes there's businesses will sponsorship teams or sponsor players. There's also within your park districts and within your communities, there are different little fundings that people have started to help kids that have a hard time, even with the equipment, because, guys, it's not all about just they want to be on the sport and they're paying a fee to be on the sport. Now they need, oh my God, we need this, the cleats, the spikes, the this, the that, all that stuff is so costly. And also there's Play It Again Sports. There's all these ideas and ways. Or I'm a big advocate of that app called Next Door Neighbor, and you've got people within your community. There are people, I know I had a garage filled, you guys, of all the sporting stuff. I had tons of it. We donated it to an organization that people would be able to have kids could use it, because my girls would use their softball shoes the next season. They didn't fit them anymore. It just was crazy. So all I want to say is that be your own advocate, check, ask questions, inquire, call your village, call your church, call, St. Vincent de Paul, call wherever you have to don't make the excuse. And I know it. I'm being sympathetic to understanding that money can be hard because it's expensive, but find out what you can do. See if you can find any way to keep your child in there, because the child doesn't understand, and they want to do it. And unfortunately, sometimes the kids want everything, right? Every single thing. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. But we got to do what's right for the kids, So with that, Laura, do you have anything else you want to add on, or do you want to close us out?
No, this is fantastic. What a great day. And, everybody have a great Super Bowl Sunday.
Woo, woo, yeah.
The weather, if it's nice by you. With that, I'm Lori.
And I'm Debbie.
And we're Friends Helping Friends. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Have a good weekend, guys. Bye-bye.